I have the paint can on the right because that's just my own example. Green Depot opened. One of the things that we offer are zero VOC paints and finishes, etc. Two terrific brands come from the West Coast. They're fantastic brands. And they had to travel during the gas shortage thousands of miles, and I had to add those dollars on to my consumers to be able to purchase those goods. Until, at a meeting like this kind of meeting, I met a manufacturer in Brooklyn who said, I have been making paint for New York and the surrounding areas for years, and I would love to make a zero VOC paint. And guess what? That local connection, once again, formed a new opportunity in Ivy Coatings, the first ever zero VOC paint made here in New York City, fabulously priced, wonderful performance. It's actually now being spec'd in, I think it's in the Commissioner's office. We actually did the Commissioner of HPD's office last month, and in a number of projects around New York. Local manufacturing, as far as being able to reignite opportunities that you wouldn't have thought were possible in smaller runs for more specialized ideas, and how we can leverage the talent next door, that's good news. And there is demand for it from this new consumer that's rising. I also think a fun thing out there, because it's always great to see the new trends that are happening, and now that there's a web, there's an internet, it's just incredible. On the top here, it shows a new business. I call this DIY Redux. I think in tough times, everybody needs to get creative about how we're doing things. It's like, it's not the glass is half empty, it is, I have a half a glass of water, what am I going to do with it? Well, very interestingly on the top, there's a business in Canada that started, now there's similar ones that are launching, I think in New York, where they've built a business which is renting out their garages that are unused to people that need garage spots. And it's all a web-driven program, leveraging a space that would have gone to waste and creating a business model. Then on the lower left here, this is actually Build It Green right here in Long Island City. Once again, it's a local resource. Products that have been demolished if you're working on a project, that's a LEED project or otherwise, it doesn't have to go to landfill. There are certain elements that can go right back and be useful in other places for building and development. And this is Build It Green, where you can shop for everything from doors to lumber to anything else. That is thinking innovatively, and that's a fantastic service to our communities and giving you another alternative in the marketplace consumer-wise. And then, of course, there's Etsy, and shop around here knows Etsy's a marketplace creative. And then the next thing that I think is fantastic news, and another thing that just shows how profound these opportunities are, is the whole notion of waste management upstream. And we can close the loop. Whether it's, I think here in Yonkers, on Yonkers Avenue, there is a recycling center. There are action now as far as the knitting of our communities for how we're being more efficient with all of our services. It's happening. The really good news is even places like waste management are thinking now about the raw materials and how it can continue to be useful and relevant in our communities. And they're thinking in a thoughtful way about the impacts beyond maybe an immediate return. Basically, on the right is a new, I think it's a new lab and pan that's highly designed sort of to do upstream gathering and crushing of products so that it actually can go back into the marketplace and become a commodity once again. So kudos to Waste Management for leading that, and really good news about how this notion of recycling has really taken hold across all sides. Value engineering, I just had to write this one because I was finding the places where you see innovation, and we're just talking about waste management, and there's a product there that's called Beatty that you see on the left, and it's beautiful. It actually can crush 5 times, and it can hold up to 5 times as much waste as a regular bin. I believe it has some solar qualities. It's highly flexible, it can be placed anywhere, and it reduces waste collection and energy costs. So even when we're talking about products, that can also be work in service with people waste management. Products are being developed in the marketplace because of the new innovations that are in play with science and technology and materials. And on the right, it just shows how this is all connected again. This is actually a veil solar shade that was developed in Australia, the Australian government. And what it does basically, they invented this shading system that harvests solar energy in schoolyards. So this is placed in schoolyards, and then the students can go down, they can touch the screen at the base, They can understand and monitor the amount of energy in the schoolyard that's coming from the sun, so it becomes an interactive component for that, and they can have the energy production and the storage, and they can actually then adjust the positioning of the shade to understand. So how cool. We're being smart about leveraging our renewable resources. We're finding an interesting way to connect as far as ideas, and we're putting the power in our kids' hands. That's super cool. Really, really cool. And those kinds of ideas are the ones that if we ask the questions, how can we connect, I think is what makes me excited about this conference. Next slide. Another trend that you all, I'm sure, are aware of is this trend. Oops, can you move back? Oh, is that the next slide? Yeah. Hyperlocal. Oh, grow your own? Okay, this trend first, and then we'll go to hyperlocal. They're sort of connected. Another great way, and very practical ways to think about how we can reconnect with our roots and with the earth is really thinking about growing your own. And I know Stephen knows a great deal about this, and we're enjoying this phenomenal food that was grown from local sources today. Another way that we can understand where things come from, and also connect the community in ways that that we start knowing our neighbors and we're supporting each other. So on the right, it shows you that where people are basically growing their own vegetables. And actually, this is in New York. There was a sign where they used it as an educational thing. What's going on here? And they showed how they took this patch of urban land and translated it into telling people what they were growing and the benefit of that as it relates to the ecological footprint of New York. So cool. And on the left, everyone loves a green roof, right? Everyone loves a green roof. It's beautiful. It creates air. It helps helps clean the air, and that helps with carbon minimizing our carbon emissions. It's a great insulator for buildings, and it helps maximize open space enjoyment for all of us. I think we'd all love to see basically a green roof instead of an asphalt top. And it also helps with the temperature as it relates to heat island effect in our cities. And so food, green roofs, clean air, once again, all great ideas, all possible right here in a place like Yonkers. And hyperlocal, since we're talking about local, let's just keep this going. These are ideas that aren't from here, but I just think once again, they made me read about it, I thought that is just wild. The top one, that's actually on the top of Fort Mason in London. And what they decided to do is they decided that they would basically make their own honey. And so they installed basically a bee farm, I don't know what it's called, on the roof. And they looked at the plants and the trees, lime trees, etc., so that they could make sure that as far as the quality of honey, it would be unique to Fort Mason. And so now you literally have bees that are making honey on the top of Fort Mason's roof, and they're selling it downstairs. And they set up a video web display so that you could understand and see it happen in the store. So talk about using technology and media in an interesting new way. And the thing that's hyper-local about this is Fort Mason can say, well, this is our unique brand of honey because it has the lime trees and they've been able to fly up higher over the Mayfair. So cool. And on the bottom, an interesting way about strategic partnerships as far as traditional businesses and sustainable businesses that may be closer to the ground. I learned recently, you may know more, Stephen, that Lowe's Hotels has a new program that's called Adopt a Farmer that's tied to dining and doing special events. An interesting thing as it relates to thinking creatively about the synergies, where initially you may think, well, that's really, sustainability isn't my business. There's a place for you to have fun and show your support of sustainability. It's about finding the right fit. Next slide. That's basically, that speaks for itself. And I guess I would also say that we're at a point in time where it's very important for us to understand that these items are not mutually exclusive. It's about how it does not, sustainability is not, you don't have to give up anything. It's about investing and doing it smarter and better. And I just think that kind of sums it up. Let's go to the next slide.